Marilyn Monroe was born into nothing and became everything. She was Hollywood's golden girl, America's sex symbol, and the face of an entire generation. But fame didn't save her. Love didn't save her. And in the end, her story made zero sense. This is the mysterious life of Marilyn Monroe. From Norma Jean to Marilyn Monroe. Born Norma Jean Mortensen on June 1st, 1926, Monroe had a modest, albeit troubled childhood in Los Angeles, California. Her mother, Gladys, was mentally ill and was constantly in and out of psychiatric hospitals. Her father was absent in her life. Raised in foster homes and even an orphanage, Norma Jean dreamed of escape. To avoid going back into the foster system, Monroe married at the early age of 16, but that marriage didn't last. She found work in a munitions factory during World War II, and it was there that a photographer first spotted her striking looks. Modeling offers began to come. Then came a screen test, and by 1946 she had won a contract with 20th Century Fox and taken the screen name Marilyn Monroe, launching the rise of her stardom. This was the beginning of a life of extraordinary achievement and extraordinary tragedy. Breakthrough in cinema. Marilyn's rise through Hollywood was a rather steady one. In 1950, she had tiny roles in The Asphalt Jungle and All About Eve, but those parts brought her notice and more contracts. Gradually, her name climbed the credits. By 1953, she was co-starring in major films. That year, she headlined Niagara and two hit musicals, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and How to Marry a Millionaire. These films cemented her public image as a glamorous, seductive blonde and made her a worldwide sensation. In Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, Monroe gave the iconic performance of the song Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. Dressed in pink satin and surrounded by dancers, she sang and posed in a way that defined her screen persona. Yet Monroe also injected her own sly humor. Reportedly, she had her character Lorelei quip, "I can be smart when it's important, but most men don't like it." With that joke, Monroe winked at the audience and proved there was wit beneath the blonde facade. Throughout the 1950s, Monroe continued to draw big audiences in other movies she featured in. But it wasn't until 1959 when the big payoff came, when she starred in the hit comedy Some Like It Hot. Her performance as Sugar Cane earned her a Golden Globe and rave reviews, proving that she could captivate audiences with genuine charm and talent. For the first time in her career, she was acknowledged not just as a sex symbol, but as a skilled actress. But even as her talent bloomed on screen, her off-screen life grew darker, lonelier, and harder to control. Love, marriage, and heartbreak. Marilyn's personal life was as dramatic as her movie roles. In 1954, she married baseball legend Joe DiMaggio. It seemed like a fairy tale union. She, the Hollywood star. He, the quiet Yankee hero. But the marriage was troubled. DiMaggio struggled with the publicity and lifestyle changes, and only 9 months later they divorced. DiMaggio reportedly never stopped caring for Monroe, even sending her roses weekly for years afterward. A few years later, Monroe found love again with a very different man, the playwright Arthur Miller, who was thoughtful and intellectual, and Marilyn admired his wit and stable presence. They married in June 1956 and tried to build a more normal life. For a time, Marilyn enjoyed a quieter life as wife and stepmother to Miller's children. But conflict soon arose as Monroe's fame was surging again. By 1961, during the filming of The Misfits, Miller's own screenplay, their marriage disintegrated and they divorced. Monroe also had high-profile friendships and romances. In the late 1950s, she dated actor Marlon Brando, and briefly in 1961, she was linked with singer Frank Sinatra. In May 1962, she famously sang "Happy Birthday, Mr. President" to John F. Kennedy, an event that later fueled rumors of a secret romance. But such connections, real or imagined, only added to Monroe's mystique as a person and deepened her public perception as a magnet for powerful figures. Things got worse, and Monroe was terrified. She would stand in front of a mirror and sob, convinced she wasn't good enough, that she'd forget her lines, that everyone would see through her. Underneath the glamorous surface was a woman barely holding it together. She started her own production company in 1955, which went by the name Marilyn Monroe Productions, to gain more control. It was a bold move at the time. She wanted to be seen as more than a body. She craved respect. But even that victory was short-lived. The damage had been done, and it was irreversible. Another thing that troubled Monroe was the fact that she was being merely reduced to an image. Early in her career, she had posed nude in a calendar, and by the mid-50s, cameras couldn't get enough of her. Yet privately, she hated that the world saw mostly her body and not her. She read voraciously and took lessons, hoping to further prove she was more than a sex symbol. In desperation, she even spoke of retiring if things didn't change. She felt trapped. By 1962, the pressure of fame and addiction had taken a toll. While filming Something's Got to Give that spring, she struggled with illness and missed shoots, and the studio finally fired her for unprofessionalism. In that lonely last year, despite planning a comeback in film and stage, Marilyn was often isolated and even entered a hospital for psychiatric care. The mysterious death. Then came that final morning, in the early hours of August 5, 1962. Marilyn Monroe was discovered unconscious in her home in Los Angeles. She was just 36 years old. Bystanders found her with numerous empty pill bottles and a half-spilled glass of liquor on the bedside table. The coroner's report was grim. Monroe had died from an overdose of sleeping pills. The official ruling was that she had died through probable suicide, citing the empty bottles around her and her history of drug dependence. Newspapers splashed the news. Marilyn Monroe found dead, and sex goddess dies in tragedy. Fans were devastated by the shock and sadness of it all, and for days afterward, fans and media replayed her films and photographs, searching for meaning in that final, tragic image. From the very moment of her death, however, questions flew about. How could a young woman at the height of her career end her life so suddenly? Sensational theories sprang up almost immediately. Some claimed Monroe knew the dirty secrets of the Kennedys or other powerful men, and that she had been killed to silence her. Others speculated about Monroe having ties to a mob. None of these stories is, however, confirmed. Official investigations, including a later review by authorities, found no evidence of foul play. In the end, the overwhelming evidence supported the coroner's report that Monroe's death was a tragic overdose. A lasting legacy. Regardless of the controversy, Marilyn Monroe's legacy is immense. She made 23 major films, and together they earned more than $200 million at the box office, a staggering total for the 1950s. Even today, those films are cherished worldwide. But beyond the statistics, Monroe became a cultural icon. Her face and figure appeared everywhere, in magazines, pop art, and fashion. She was the symbol of the glamour and freedom of the 1950s era. In the American Film Institute's ranking, she is still named one of the top female stars of all time. More than 60 years after Monroe's death, people still study Monroe's life and quote her words. She was named the 6th greatest female screen legend of the Golden Age. Why does she fascinate us so much? Perhaps because Marilyn seemed to have everything, yet was deeply human. In the end, Marilyn Monroe continues to shine as an unforgettable part of Hollywood and cinema history. If you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next one.